Welcome back to the show. Brian Gatewood Sr. has dedicated his life to uplifting and supporting the youth of our community. He joins us in the studio to discuss his journey from growing up navigating the juvenile detention system to becoming the founder of Innovative Changemakers. Brian, thanks for being on the show.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let's dive right in.
For sure.
All right. So Brian, can you share with our viewers what inspired you to start Innovative Changemakers?
For sure. So initially, my beginning came from my own personal journey. And so as you said in your intro, I had to navigate the juvenile system. And, I think that was due to lack of having a mentor myself or a father figure in the household. And so I went out to try to find those things that I was lacking, and I found those in places that, necessarily wouldn't have gotten me to the places that I want to go to. And so I had to navigate the juvenile system, and then, there's not a whole lot of rehabilitation in those systems. And so I was released back into the same environments that put me in there to begin with. And so, I could fast forward into 2019, COVID, around COVID, I started thinking, about how I could utilize my journey and the things that I've experienced to give back. I used to always say that, like, I want to utilize the things that I've experienced to give back, but I just didn't necessarily know what that looked like. And so I began just like a kind of journey to, for purpose. And so I found that with the Seattle Urban League. And so worked at the Seattle Urban League doing reentry work, because that's something that I lived through. And so, although I loved it, it just wasn't really my passion. My passion was the youth and prevention work, because I know what it would have helped for me as a kid to have, somebody like myself or somebody like, you or somebody like all these people in community, to have some folks like that to have shown me or guided me through a lot of these difficult times or show me what I could be, let me know what my potential was. And so that was really the beginning of I.C.M. It was like, I saw a void and I saw how I could utilize my strengths to fill that void.
Absolutely. And so you used your lived experiences to create this wonderful organization to help mentor other young folks, which is definitely needed. As we talked about last week, we definitely need some mentoring and some guidance from young men like yourself, so appreciate it very much.
It's just not to cut you off, but not just youth either. There's a lot of adults that we work with, because that's a big thing. Is a lot of adults who have experienced negative stuff in their life. They don't feel like they have anything to offer. And so somebody like me who they've seen go through these things and seen at my worst, but now they see that I've changed my life and that we're making such a huge impact. It motivates them and it inspires them to understand that they have a whole lot of value, and a lot that they can give back as well, and they can utilize their story to help these kids navigate also.
100%. So youth, adults, men, women,
for sure,
the whole game. Okay, all right. So can you also share with the viewers what Innovative Changemakers' vision is?
Yeah, so our mission is to provide innovative alternatives to hazardous lifestyles. And so those hazardous lifestyles could be gang involvement, it could be, drug use or drug selling, anything that isn't getting our kids and, like I said, adults to whatever they see their self at. Anytime we have like meetings or anything like that with kids and adults in community, we ask like, where do you see yourself? Like, what is, because everybody has a dream, so like, what is that dream? Like, where do you see yourself when you think about like the perfect world? And so people will say what that is. And it's like, so what's stopping you? So these different things. And so we have an alternative to whatever that might look like. And so again, drug selling, like there's a lot of kids who right now might have to help parents out, at home. And so they feel like that's the only thing that they can do to, have some revenue to help out. But it's like we have, our peer mentorship program where we train our kids, we train them in trauma-informed care, communication, de-escalation trainings. Like we give them these trainings and then we have them co-facilitate. And so they get paid for this. And so they get paid very well also, and so, that's an alternative to violence. That's an alternative to them selling drugs, and then like we were just talking about, like our jerseys, so a lot of kids especially, but people just in general, but kids especially, want to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And so I remember as a kid, that's why I was so, wowed by the thought of being a part of the gang, because it was something bigger than me.
Right.
It's a whole lot of, and it's like a family, and like I was lacking a lot of those things. And so I found them there. But it's like now we got our jerseys, we got purpose, like we are that family. Like you don't have to go down that road, because we're here on some positivity.
Absolutely.
And so we provide those alternatives to violence and alternatives to hazardous lifestyles.
100%. And so, Brian, what are some of the most impactful programs or events that you've led so far?
Of course. So I think that all of our events and all of our programming is extremely impactful.
Right.
But I can give you a couple that like are dear to my heart. I'll start with our Innovative Cuts program. And so Innovative Cuts program, it's a program that teaches the basic fundamentals of barbering. It teaches communication. It teaches entrepreneurship. And then it has a mental health aspect to where, in our communities, a lot of times our barbershops are like our hubs for, you can go in there for therapy, you can go in there for counseling, to talk about sports, and that's the salons also. It's the same thing. You sit down with these people for a long time and you can decompress.
Right.
And so what we've tried to do is take that experience and put it into a program and offer it to the youth.
Okay.
And so it teaches them to be first responders in their schools, in their communities, because they learn how to identify their peers who are going through crisis. And then once you identify that, what you can do with that information, which you can, let them know that there's trusted adults out here that can assist them. There's resources that we have for them. There's all kind of stuff that they learn. It's been like a super beneficial program, and it's just getting started, but we've been offering that program for the last year, but like we're just really getting amped up and getting going. So now we'll be in Tacoma Public Schools and Franklin Pierce School District.
Okay.
And so that's one, our peer mentorship program. We have 20 youth currently. Like I said, we teach them all those different skill sets, and then we put them in position to work.
Right.
We give them job readiness training. We do mock interviews, resumes, cover letters, etc. And then we put them in positions. Like they'll go, right now they're in 5 days a week in all the different late night sites.
Okay.
And so they're working, and so they're making some good money and, doing something positive.
Right. Okay.
And so those two are the ones that stand out to me as being, our top. Oh, no, let me not skim over. So our in-school mentorship program is called Young Kings.
Okay.
And so we're at 5 different schools in Tacoma Public Schools, and then we'll be in 4 different schools in Franklin Pierce School District.
Nice.
And so we're teaching all kind of different life skills and just providing a lot of different information to these kids, and then just being, trusted adults that are there consistently.
Right.
We're there every single week without hesitation, without question. They know they can come to us. We don't work for the school district. We're not teachers. And so they can trust us in letting us know when they have issues that even might be with the teachers or be with the admin.
Right.
And so we're there on campus and just providing that extra support.
Right. And then all of you doing the things that you're doing, and then that word of mouth, you might reach one youth, and that youth will, or adult, will reach out to another youth or adult and say, hey, this is what I've learned from this program. And it's about community. It's about that village. So it's very impactful, clearly.
Yeah. And that's how we've grown.
Yes.
Like we've grown, like when we first started, we had no funding. And like, we had just a handful of kids and a couple of different adults. And then it's grown and grown to where we service hundreds of kids, and then the same amount of adults. We have our men's group. It's called Iron Sharpens Iron. Then we have our women's group called Women's Empowering Women. And like they're full, and they're fun. And like we have opportunities to go out in the community and do stuff together. Yes. And then it's been a blessing to be a blessing.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so you touched on the peer mentorship program. And what else are you doing or do you do to involve youth in shaping this work?
So almost all of our programming, especially our youth serving programs, we sit down with youth and ask them. That's one of the missing links to a lot of youth serving programs is involving the youth in the planning of the program. Right. It's like a lot of folks offer programming for youth, but they don't involve youth in putting it together. And so like I said, we have our 20 peer mentors, and we'll sit down with them and just like, what is it that you guys feel like you are not learning? Right. What tools do you guys feel like would help you be, more successful? And so they, once you give them a platform to speak and let them know that their voice is powerful, they have no hesitation will let you know what they need.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
And so everything that we plan is for them, and that's why they're so well attended by youth, because for youth by youth.
Right,
Right. We play our part, but we allow them to lead.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's vital,
sure.
including the youth, their voices, their opinions, their feedback in order to design those programs, create that help for them by allowing them to say, well, this is what we need, and then following through and providing for them what they need to be successful. So that is very important, because I think as adults, we're real quick to make suggestions, but we're not listening. We got to listen and, provide help to our young people and adults again, but definitely including them and allowing them to use their voices to tell us what they need. So that is very, very important.
Yeah, one of the biggest reasons that we do that is I remember when we first started, we were working with some kids and they were saying how there's a ton of adults that tell them what not to do, but there's not any adults that tell them what they could do. And so that's where we differ, because we come into the school and it's not like, don't do this, don't do that. Right. They know what's right from wrong. And so it's like, okay, you could be doing this instead of that.
Right.
And so providing that alternative. And so that was one of the big things, is like kids just telling you, like, we, don't need to know what not to do. We need to know what we could, what we can do.
Right, right.
And so, they'll tell you, exactly what they need. With no hesitation.
Exactly. And so our final question, Brian, what is your vision? What is your future vision for Innovative Change Makers?
Yeah. So, I would love for us to continue the work that we're doing at the capacity that we're doing it at.
Absolutely.
But like what I envision us having is just a central location, that community knows exactly where we're at. Community knows exactly how they can sign up for programming, exactly how they can volunteer, where our program, just have that location. And so, how I envision it in my mind, I see it as like a community space, like community center, have basketball court, classrooms. And so just, have that empowerment center is what I want it to be, because I want it to offer programs not just to youth, but just to community within itself, and just empower community. Let them know again what they could be doing instead of what telling them what they should stop doing, or
right.
And so we want to offer all of our programs out of this central location, and then invite community in to host their programs there also. And just have, like I said, that just general empowerment center somewhere in Pierce County.
Right. Well, I'm going to put that into the universe. So the next time we talk, we're not going to say if, when.
Yeah.
How's the community center going? Because it will happen.
For sure.
What you're doing is amazing, and we really appreciate, I'm speaking on behalf of myself, the community.
Thank you.
Genuinely appreciate everything that you're doing for all folks who need this guidance.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
you being on the show. Looking forward to an update on the location of the
I'll
community
invite
center.
You out.
Well, thank you again, Brian, and I'm
course.
looking forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.